YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host TKK and we are back with another video, guys. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it might be, wherever you are in the world. I thank you for taking a moment to watch this video. Please show some support by way of comments. Let's have some engagement. That's the most important thing about this channel. It's all about developing, and I can only develop if, we're having some meaningful conversation. So let's talk about what we've got going on right here. Before I get started, timestamps are down below. For those of you that might want to kind of just skim through, that's totally cool. I do that so that you guys can have a little bit more control as to what you're watching and you're not feeling forced to watch a larger video. What we're doing today is we're comparing for the second time both of these quantum dot OLEDs that I have bought for myself. Right here on the left, we've got the Samsung S95C. That's this TV right here. It is a 77-inch quantum dot OLED. This is the first TV of 2023, the second generation of Samsung displays and Samsung Electronics quantum dot OLED. It only comes in 77. There will be more sizes, and then there will be a variant of this called the S90C coming. And we also have the Sony A95K. That's the TV on the right out of the two. Right now it's pictured in front of you, and I have it in 65-inch. This TV came out in 2022, not even a year ago. It came out last year, but it hasn't been a full calendar year. In any event, this TV, very sensational, great out of the box representation of, what you will be expecting to see on TV. And it's just a great option all around. All right, so yesterday's video, if you didn't catch it, was my first time doing anything with these, and it was an initial setup of the Samsung TV, with me going through and messing with the settings, right? So, I look back at the comments and I try to use the comments as a way to develop, so it's a little difficult when you're filtering out trolls and people that are just overly expressing their opinion about one company that they love. Like, the purpose of this is so that we can figure out what is better. So again, utilize the comment section, but please try to do so in a way where we can actually figure some things out. So this part of the video, I'm going to explain to you how I'm capturing this. Now, this is a living room setup. Okay. This is not just some random room where I've got both of these TVs on a tripod. This is a 77-inch TV. It's incredibly hard to get this TV next to another TV while keeping my home looking like my home. That being said, I have the A95K under the S95C, and so I have two different cameras. So let's be conscious of that first. The camera that's recording the Sony Alpha 95 King, that's what I've carded this TV, is a Sony Alpha 6000. Okay, it's not a point and shoot camera. I've got the default lens on it, and the camera that is recording the S95C is a Sony ZV-1. It is a point and shoot camera. This is the best that I could do right now to get both of these on camera. Trying to get one shot of both of these on one camera, it's very difficult, because what happens is either of these two cameras is going to be focusing more on one TV. And so maybe it's my ignorance, but this is the best that I could give you. What I've done is I've adjusted the exposure and those types of settings to the best of my abilities. Outside of that, thanks to YouTuber HDTV00, he came up with a great idea in the comment section. So again, thank you for using the comment sections to actually engage with further development. Because of him, I didn't think about this. I'm using my Denon 970H receiver. The Denon has an Apple TV plugged into it, and going out of the Denon receiver, I've got an HDMI going to the Samsung S95C as the eARC. So it's controlling everything, right? And I also have an HDMI going out to the Sony A95K. The great thing about this is that it looks as if I could actually get two separate signals sent out to the TV. So unlike last year when I was trying to compare S95B and A95K with the gaming PC, whatever you plugged up first was the master, so it would look better. I truly am seeing two different picture settings with this. Now, with that being said, what I'd like to go through is showing you guys, as I've created the thumbnail to support these having the same exact picture settings. Okay, so we got the basis of the equipment I'm using, the expectations knocked out. Let's just look at the settings of both of these TVs. I messed around with it a little bit, and I'm gonna tell you guys right now, these TVs are set to be virtually identical. Now, if you've got some more information that could steer me in a different direction, great. But I'm going to show you the settings that I've got on both of these panels. In person, they both look phenomenal. These look really good. So I'm not sure how my cameras will articulate, what you're seeing. But I can tell you that, I am really enjoying what I'm seeing in front of these TVs. So with the Sony, we've got with the Samsung, which is on the left, we've got the movie base. We're going to go to expert settings. And I'm also going to pull up these settings on the Sony also. We've got cinema on the Sony, just so you guys can see the base that I've built my picture settings on. Now, I tweaked the Sony settings just a little bit, but I put myself in a position where the Samsung settings would somewhat mirror the Sony settings, all right? So these are just some temporary settings, but as I just said at the start of this timestamp, they both look really good in person. So going to the settings, obviously they're both not going to have the same menu, but let's just take a look at the brightness. So when I say same settings, the Sony is going to cap out at a 50 brightness. I got it set at a 30, and the Samsung does the same. The contrast, the Samsung is going to cap out at a 40. I've got it set at a 40. The Sony caps out at 100. I got it set to 90. So it's 10% knocked down. That's just the base settings right there. This HDR tone mapping, I got it set for preferred brightness. And I think this is similar to this HDR tone mapping setting here, which I have set on static, which makes the TV brighter if you put it on active. Sorry, had to take care of my kid. So I have this set on static, which, doesn't make things look overblown on the camera because, I got to play and consider a lot of stuff when I'm making this kind of content, just because I'm going to have people that are going to still say whatever they're going to say. So I'm just trying to bring you guys something even Steven. Now, yesterday I mentioned that I'm really not a fan of the Warm 2 on the Samsung. I felt like the green was a little bit more aggressive. So the 1 is what I prefer, but I set it on the 2 after messing around with some of these settings to make them more similar to the Sony. And it actually comes out to look, more to my liking now. I do have the Sony set on something similar too. So looking at the contrast enhancement on the Sony, peak brightness, we got those set to high. The Sony isn't like a very, very bright TV to begin with. So, my efforts are just to try to get a similar representation. I think the Sony A95K does a really good job of like toning down brightness in areas where it doesn't need to have, brightness there. So just going to some of the color, let's take a look at that. Color set on 30 on the Samsung, the max is 50. Again, we got this set on 80, which would be the comparable balance of the two. The color temperature expert 2, that's how we come in to mesh out the warm 2. So you got an expert 1, there's a warm 1, expert 2, warm 2. The live color is turned off on the Sony. Because a part of this is going to be seen as some comparison, like what's better. I have it turned off. It does add some radical pop in a good way, but I've got it turned off right now. If I were to turn this feature on, it doesn't severely modify the colors, but it's a good feature. I really do like live color. And prior to this, when I was using the A90J and such, like I never messed around with any of those, that setting, you know. But for the most part, these are so far the things that I've messed around with. What I did do with the Samsung that made me enjoy the colors better was set the color space just to native without tweaking anything. I had it set on normal in yesterday's video. So if you, again, you can reference the video just to kind of see some different things. So that's pretty much the base right now that I've got. So again, guys, I'm going to say it one more time and hopefully you listen. But a troll's going to be a troll. These TVs look pretty much identical right now. Like there's a little bit more brightness kicking through with the Samsung through its colors. But some of the features with the Samsung, if you turn too many of the brightness settings on, I feel like you don't have the detail with the color. The shadow detail with the Sony right now is still what looks better to me, in my opinion. I don't think there's anything that the S95C, which is right here, can do to really compare with the shadow detail that the Sony has. It just does shadows better, you know, just like those, just those little small little, you know, creases and like we'll just use anime. It just looks better. But that color volume and that pop is really, really good on the S95C. So let's get into a little bit of content. Okay, we're going to go back to the wire. Now, keeping in mind, one of these TVs were made to look like the other. And I did not make the Samsung or the Sony look like the Samsung. I actually modified the other way around. Now, one thing I want you to take a look at with yesterday's video, because I did put timestamps. If you go back and look at yesterday's video and you go back to the timestamp that says the wire, focusing on where it says juices, cold drinks, and sodas. Yesterday on the A95K, under cold drinks, you see the green bottle? It wasn't green on the Sony yesterday. And it's because, I think it's because I had live color on. I had live color on, it was on a low, but it was not green. On the Samsung, it clearly was green. So it was like a difference in seeing, like, you know, Dr. Pepper versus Mountain Dew type of thing. Like, honestly, I mean, it's radical. I didn't even see one person in the comment section mention that. I seen people talking about the red and then the ceilings. And to be honest with you, looking at them both, there's some red on the ceiling. And I feel like that's the light reflecting off of these chairs. The Samsung had that yesterday. It had it more. I could tell you that these both look really good. This is A95K right here. This is S95C, A95K, S95C. Now, again, the camera zoom and everything is not going to be exactly perfect again, because I told you the orientation and how I have these TVs. You know, I know it's going to be some person that's going to say, oh, well, mount them up next to each other. You guys are crazy. Like, my house is fly. I'm not finna change my crib just for the TV when one TV, which is this, is supposed to be in my bedroom. So please just take it for what it is. Yeah. But yeah, man. So yeah, pay attention to like that green pop, looking at both of them. The pop is actually green. Yesterday, it was not green on the Sony. Here's another look at that. I adjusted the zoom on the Sony TV. Cropped it out a little bit. All right, moving on. We just got a quick little clip here from Enemy to State. This is a great movie, great classic, great classic. All right, so let's just take a look at this. Again, you know, it's more of like the shadow details with the Sony, which is on the right, that, you know, stand out more for me than the Samsung. You know, the Samsung, again, has the brighter potentials, but these both look really good in person. They really do. There's your A95K. Here's your S95B. Will Smith's a black man, African American. I mean, you can, just, we all know what Will Smith looks like. Throughout the years, skin tone hasn't changed dramatically or anything like that. So, I guess we can kind of gauge this to see what looks better to us. Again, this is being brought to you with two different cameras, and then through the wizard magic of YouTube, it's translated however it is. These both look incredibly good. The technology is on par, right? It's on par. It is. I see, I'll tell you what I see. I see more detail in Will Smith's suit on the Samsung. And I'm telling you what I see in person. How this will work through, I'm not sure. We've got two cam links running to a laptop right now. I mean, just to kind of give you, some context, man. There's a lot of pass through going on here. When it gets to you on YouTube, I'm not sure what it's going to look like, but there's more detail in that suit on the Samsung. Again, that's the bright highlights there. But when I look at like the coffee mug and such like that, when I look at Will's face, just the shadow that's around his the left side of his head, it's a better detail there. I'm not sure if it looks too dark to you guys, but it just looks, it looks better. They just look really good in two different ways. And I mean, this is more or less just similar settings adjusted so that I could bring you the best that I think I could on camera. So let's move on to something else. Oh my, Wednesday. This scene, red, black. I mean, black is like ink. It's very, very good. Very good contrast. Oh, man, the bright highlights here. Everything's really good. Everything's good. Obviously, the camera has the focus on her, but you can see the details of the people. Let me just run this for a little bit. Oh, man. Yeah, this looks really good, man. It's a great show. I enjoyed this show. I really hope that season 2, they just retain the same production team. But man, this looks good on both. Let's just kind of get a A95K, S95C, A95K, S95C. Look at her left eyeball. Well, to us looking at it, it'd be on the right. Like that mascara, like anything that's like black that might have a little bit of shadow to it is gonna look a little bit better on that Sony, but the actual eyeball looks better on the Samsung, But man, this is a great scene. I think this is a really good comparison there. Looking at both, they both look really great. They both look really great. Some Black Adam. You can see Expert 2 is a little bit more green than Warm 2. Trying to give you clips so I don't have any issues. All right, here we are with the steel here. We got Mr. Dwayne Johnson laying down as Black Adam. I actually enjoyed this movie. Disappointed with all the politics that are going on in any regard. I'm not here to really discuss that. I liked this movie. I think it's a great watch. My first time seeing it was, on the A95K when I had it in front of my window in this same room with the Sony system. And so, it was a good watch for me. So that Expert 2 does have more of a greenish tint than the Warm 2. Given the color settings, when when you turn on the live color settings, I feel like it adjusts the Warm 2 a little bit more. I'm sorry, the Expert 2 on the Sony a little bit more, so it's not as green. Yesterday when I was saying I don't like Warm 2 with the Samsung, it's because it was really green. But with the Samsung, when you turn the color settings to native, it takes a little bit of that green out of the Warm 2. So now this is a great representation to what I was saying yesterday when I said I didn't like the one. So normally I would play with the Sony with the live color on low, and so my screen wouldn't be as green. But again, this is just for this comparison. Here's the S95C, and here's the A95K. It looks extremely theatrical. I love the green base. It's just a little too green, but still watchable, still a good watch. But yeah, here we are. What do you think? You look at the sand. Let's just keep in mind, part of this is camera too, guys. I mean, I'm telling you, these do look very similar. The sand looks lighter. I'm using the laptop to kind of compare and have the talking points while I'm seeing this. The sand is in fact darker looking on the on the A95K, but not by much. There's a little bit of an adjustment that the camera is making to do some extra. The sand doesn't look as flat in color. That sand looks really beach-like on the S95C. On the A95K, it looks like you're out there in, the desert, and it's that's the difference. This S95C looks like excuse me, looks like beach, like you're on a beach. That's what the dirt looks like, the sand. This looks like you're in the desert. That's what I'm seeing here. Now, it's not exaggerated in person, but there is definitely a difference in the color shade and the tint there. Outside of that, like the orange and the van, it's about spot on. It's about spot on with both. The fire, it's about spot on with both. The fire has like a deeper look, and that might have something to do with like shadows, but that fire looks about spot on. That's to the left and to the right of the van. The rock, his skin tone, I mean, brother looks good. A little bit more shadow on the A95K with the top back of his head as he's laying down on the dirt. But his like forehead and his chin and such, that skin tone, in my opinion, looks a little bit better on the S95C. All right, so I'm currently binge watching Chicago Med, 8th season. This is episode 2. I definitely know I can't let any of this content play. I tried that when I did the A5000 soundbar review, and that was a no-go. But in any event, we're gonna wrap this up here. Just let me know what you guys think. Let's have some dialogue, some engagement. Let's talk about our thoughts on these TVs. Again, guys, this is day 5 with the S95C. It has not been dialed in, not to the settings that I think that are going to be best for it. This is a follow-up video for comparisons to give it similar settings to the A95K. I will say this again, and you can agree or disagree, but I've bought enough panels to know that this is factual. These two TVs cannot be made to look exactly the same and enjoyed the same. Now, I'm going to say that again. They cannot be made to look exactly the same and be enjoyed the same. They are two different technologies when it comes down to picture processing and how they handle motion and clarity. They don't have the exact same settings. They are not the same TV. They simply have the same panel technology. That's it. That is it. You're going after one or you're going after the other. One is going to do a better job of doing one thing, and the other is going to do a better job of doing something else. So there's going to be many more people on YouTube that are going to do a better job than I can do on comparing the two TVs and having them side by side. My content, my strength on YouTube is going to be giving you more of the long-term, how I like the TV and what my thoughts are on the TV. I do appreciate all of the support. I made a community tab talking about that, saying that, hey, I wish that I could articulate things and use the verbiage a little bit better, like some of my co-YouTubers. It's a great community out there, but there's a ton of guys that you can get some information from. Brian's one of them. FOMO's one of them. Tech with KG's one of them. Classy, I just subscribed to him. I actually want to do some work with him and talk to him about, you know, what his thoughts would be on the S95C. Max is another one. There's a lot of great guys, out here that you can go and you can tap into. But, you know, I'm just one guy in this space. And again, my content is going to come just from the day to day. So this is day 5 coverage of me bringing you S95C. Let me know in the comments what you thought, what you might want to see going forward. We're going to keep the content going. I'm going to catch you guys on the next video. Peace. God bless. And as I always say, max love.